Okay, so welcome everybody to today's call, and we're really excited about it in regards to being able to explain what BSCG means, like a banned substance controlled group seal for the product Emulin. And I'm going to bring on board and introduce my better half, my husband, David Boyle. How are you, David?
Very well, thank you, Jackie.
He's going to be official on me. I'm going to have to play with him a little bit to see if I can get something out of him. get the lighter side of him happening. So, we are going to show you a presentation. I think that's the best way to go into this. And foremost, I do want to say I know that a lot of people have sent their well wishes to Dr. Ahrens and condolences, and he has been very much overwhelmed by them. They have been passed on. And he does obviously put in his apologies for not being able to be here. So with that said, we'll get going and we'll start this presentation. So we'll start and have a look at, so you guys can all see that. Can somebody put their thumbs up? Yeah, you can see that. Good. I'll shift this around a little bit. So I guess foremost, when we start looking at it, because we are talking about a product that potentially has been formulated by Dr. Joseph Ahrens. He's the scientist and the brains behind this product with 15 years of research. And when we talk about the banned substance control group, as you'll see when we go through, it's Emulin M only that has been given that seal of approval, and you'll be able to see as we go through. But of course, we wouldn't be able to do this without Dave said yes. So, we can have a product all we like, but, having a CEO that has a passion for sport and having a CEO that has a vision to be able to expand the business into the world globally with a product that can certainly change people's lives and taking it into that sporting arena of all ages has truly been something that's quite remarkable. So having the combination of both Dr. Ahrens and having a CEO like Dave with a passion for sport, we're truly, really lucky, I believe. And most of us all know, what the background of Dave is. He's just extremely passionate in sport. He's extremely passionate in business. And he wants to ensure that us on the ground, that we have everything that we need. And this is just going to take us to another level with this particular product. So I wanted to look at this, and I'll be able to explain. So please take notes that Emulin M only has a BSCG seal certified. And what does this mean? It means children to adults in any sport at any level. So it's not just professional athletes. In other words, it's actually probably even more so. Think about it, it's good because it can go on professional athletes, but I want you to really think about children coming through, teenagers into sport. They're the areas that you really want to be wanting to share this product with, because they're the ones that are going to want to give their careers the best possible chance they can. But this is massive for Emulin and for athletes at any level. And as I said, I did want to introduce my husband. And David is a former professional player, now coaching, and discusses sport and the importance of the BSCG certified approval of Emulin of all ages of people in sport. So we'll be asking him some questions. But I do want to give you some insight into who the other side of me is. And he is a real family man, and he's the youngest of 4 brothers. And we have 4 children, Rick, Brian, Ashley and Matt. And we have 4 grandchildren, Koa, Harlow, Eva and Sophie. And David has also been a lover of surfing. And, if I can't find him anywhere, I know he's going to be out in the surf if he's at home. He can't wait to get that board and he's gone. And it's just 5 minutes from us. So that's his second passion in life. I think it actually is before me sometimes, but I'll let him go with that one. And, David's primary love has always been football, and this has taken him all over the world. So, David, I am going to start and bring you into here because I really want to look at you as a player. And, in regards to, people can read this as we go through because you've had quite an illicit career playing at NRL. So what is NRL in comparison to when we start looking at, you know, the football in the States. So what's the comparables there?
Just like the NFL, I guess, NFL or NBA. So it's a national competition, and it's screened, all over the world with a state of origin match. So it's like a Super Bowl between two states.
And when we start looking at this picture here, kind of really paints 1,000 words, doesn't it? Like 1,000 things to us that we look at it and think that it's a tough sport. It is a sport that there are no, you don't have a lot of padding. Like it's just bone to bone, skin to skin. And, you know, as far as your body's concerned, how did you end up after your career of 10 years with the Rabbitohs? You're a one-man team player, and then you ended up playing in Hull at the end of your career in England. What was it like in regards to your body, and what sort of an impact did it have on your body as a player at that level?
I guess if we want to start off with comparisons with the NFL, in NFL you have the offensive team and you have the defensive team. In rugby league, you're offense and defense. So that means there's about 48 collisions a game, and you pack down in scrums and just take the ball up, and 3 or 4 guys can hit you at once. The reason why I've got a mouth guard in there, because I've had my teeth knocked out, 17 nose operations, 13 knee operations, and shoulder reconstruction. So how did I pull up? I decided that being a health and high performance coach, looking after my body was the way I should have kept going with all the collisions and all the contusions and operations I've had. So it's been great.
And it's certainly given you a, you know, throughout that career, I was speaking to you last night about it, and, you know, the difference in sport from when you were playing as a professional athlete as opposed to where we're at now, because you're in that space now, and we'll talk about that as we go through, in the difference of how the regulations and things have changed. But I wanted to shift on to the next slide just to give you a little bit of insight as to who this man is. So you get a bit of an understanding that this is where David works. So you can obviously see, like, it is in a huge big stadium. So I'm hoping this is going to work okay, because I did try last night. So just bear with me, because I want you to have some background, so when he gives you information that you're going to understand that he's a good guy.
That's actually the Olympic Stadium where Australia had the Olympics in the year 2000. So it's a pretty fun place to work at.
So this is part of what you're doing on a daily basis too, isn't it? So we'll flip through to looking at what you do on a daily basis too. So you're coaching, you're embedded and you're entrenched in professional athletes each and every day, aren't you?
Yeah. It's an interesting day for me. So I work 100 kilometres away in the city, and it's at Olympic Park. So all around the stadium, Australia, and I also teach at ACP, so it's Australian College of Physical Education. We have elite athletes, so we run courses on high performance sport, as well as I am the high performance manager with the National Rugby League officiators. So I've gone from working with athletes in the collisions to the officiators, and to be quite honest, after 40 years, I've ignored referees, but now I'm looking after them. So we look at the physiological characteristics of refereeing, and the average age is 38, and it spans from 23 to 47. They run about 10 Ks, which is about 6 miles a game, and some of them have to do 2 games in a weekend. When you look at the physiological kind of things, when we played, we were footballers, but now we have all these different metrics that we we put together how far they run, what distances they run, their accels, their decels, measure their collisions, and we also look at their wellness. So we have physical fatigue or neuromuscular fatigue, but we also have perceptual fatigue. And the perceptual fatigue is, these days, they call it psychosocial stressors, and social media is part of it. But certainly, we've got that many limitations on the athletes with their alcohol, with their skin folds, with their speeds, and it becomes a whole different science now compared to what we played 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah, so it's quite, interesting when I look back at your career and as we start looking into it, it's been a well-rounded career, and to be able to give you some insight into David's career as a strength and conditioning coach, you've been involved with a lot of clubs here in the NRL and also with Australian Rugby Union as well. But what I've witnessed since I've seen you is not just the passion for football, it's the passion for sport and for athletes, of even the budding athlete that's coming through that's hasn't hit the pro league yet as such. So you've got your amateur, and then you've got the young kids and things. But you had 17 years with national basketball, which we had a lot of fun with them, and that took them through to where they won a premiership. And as you said, now you're with the high performance manager for the NRL referees, and currently as a board member for the Strength and Conditioning Association, and until COVID hit for all of us, I mean, you were flying around the world and speaking as a keynote speaker. And we did say, as you've heard me say before, like we owned a fitness centre, but David also has a corporate health business. He's not just all brawn, as we'd like to say. He actually does have brains as well, which is great. So he's got an MBA and a Master of Business, and is currently studying a Master of Research in Medical and Health Science. So if we even look at that, David, what is that doing for you in regards to accelerating your knowledge and opening up a global possibilities for you? But then looking at what we're looking at now with Emulin and having this seal, what does that do in regards to being able to take it out into our world, our sporting world, and just having that knowledge in underneath you? What's the importance of it for you?
You've sort of covered a few bases there. I guess when I started teaching at ACPE, my head of department suggested I do a Masters by Research, and I thought that was great. It's been a very frustrating journey. What do we know? What we know, ontology, looking at the world in a different view, and it's just been a continuous walk in the dark. But it's been fascinating too, on learning stuff. So my thesis is on decision making, understanding decision making in elite NRL football by the head coaches and the high performance managers. So some players are picked in a team. They're not the fastest, the fittest, the biggest, the strongest, but they just have this cognitive ability to win games. Joe Montana was a great 49ers quarterback, and he was old, but man, he's still playing. And even the quarterback, from the Patriots that's gone down and they won the title. I'm not sure whether Belichick made a mistake and let him go. Anyway, they're the sort of things that you're learning. And on the part of that, it's because it's become so scientific, everybody's trying to get an edge. What I've found with Emulin, being a user myself, I've dropped 17 kilos, which is about 40 pound, because I like surfing and I just wanted to get healthier and get more mobility. And that's what Emulin's been able to do for me. I think people that they need a catalyst to get something about losing weight or being healthier, and that really helps you by metabolizing your sugar stores, and it's become a real issue for a lot of us. In terms of the Emulin, and I know that Jackie's talked about the brain formula coming out. So now that I'm studying this Masters by Research, it's allowed me to understand research, but also we're going to run some clinical trials on athletes and the referees on the brain formula, because we've had unprecedented levels of concussion. And in our game, we get all the collisions. We've had 21 people that have had to be arrested from what they call HIA, or the concussion protocols, to pass those. So anything that's going to help promote well-being and health, I'm really interested in. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to using the products myself, but also just learning and helping people. And sport's such a big mover. I don't know how much you know about it, but sport stopped, professional sport stopped, and our chairman is a visionary, Peter Volandis, and he said, okay, we're going to set up a project, Apollo, because people told them they couldn't get to the moon. Sorry, I get a bit emotional here too. And we looked at a video only yesterday where we went through, and he got the government, the local governments, the state governments, and the federal governments, and said, listen, we're putting a package together and we're going to get this game moving. And I think that set a precedent for the rest of the world, that professional sport could keep moving. And a part of that is it keeps the economy going, because it doesn't matter how bad we're struggling with in the world, we always like our sport, and sport helps our kids. And that's where, Emulin can help kids growing from the bottom right through to professional. And yeah, it's just a great product. And I've been very fortunate, and I thank God for what he's given me in my career. So that's about a summary of it all.
Look, David, I've seen what this product and how it has assisted and supported your body, Emulin, and what it's done for you from being an ex-pro footballer. And I will say to people that are on this call, and for those that listen afterwards, not because I'm married to him, but he certainly keeps me on my toes, because he's a machine. Like, he trains, once or twice a day himself additionally. And when I say train, he is so competitive still that he trains like a flaming 20-year-old. And it's just so admirable. So when we start looking at, the impact that Emulin has been able to have on him by supporting him with his body as it ages, and as it has the effects of what has happened to him in the past with the collision of sport and the series of operations that you've had, I've noticed and witnessed and seen what it has done in that journey that you've had over the last 4.5 years. But what I wanted to touch base on you before we really get into the nuts and bolts of this, as you can read down the bottom here, I'm in awe of you, and I always have been, on the aspect of what you've done in your career yourself personally, but then the impact that you've had on other people that have gone to the Olympics, through to as a coach, as a mentor. And it's not just football predominantly. As I said, it's been basketball, Australian Rugby Union, surfing, swimming, athletics, predominantly track and field, K2 kayaking, surfboat rowing. So it's across the board when you start looking at understanding sport. But what I wanted to ask you is, from when you first played, like when you were playing yourself, and now you've got these elite athletes, what's the difference in regards to when we're talking about this banned substance control seal? How often do players get tested for drugs and alcohol these days? Like, what's changed there?
Okay, a little bit of context around that too. And thank you, Jackie, for those comments. I was involved in a club that got picked up for peptides. So I'd left the rugby union. I've worked with 7 NRL clubs, but I left rugby union after 4 years and went back to rugby league. And I thought, man, how good of a team have I got here? We had some stars, and we were really going to give the competition a shake. 6 weeks later, we got breached by ASADA. Now it's called Sport Integrity Australia, where they all were breached with notices and suspended from rugby league from playing. And I've never seen the effect. They were physically sick and they couldn't train, and they were just, we had to get on psychologists and just to sort of look after them. And that just changed the whole world of sport in Australia. And then that flowed down to Essington. There was a trail of this guy that was injecting peptides into the players. So first and foremost, we've had to set up supplement committees. We've got to make sure that everything that comes in, everything's batch number tested, how we handle the product, and even educating the athletes that they've got to sign declarations that the only supplements they'll take are the ones that we provide. So it puts, again, more pressure on us to maintain good integrity and good systems in place to make sure that the products that they're having aren't going to be identified when testing.
And, you know, when you start looking at this, I mean, we must mention too, I guess, really for the athletes themselves, those that have got themselves contracts, they're contracted to a club, or they're an individual athlete themselves and they're on track to, you know, they want to excel. It is up to the athlete's own individual research. They have to go in and research themselves too, to make sure that they are taking something that is acceptable, that they're not going to be tested. They're going to find that they're going to get a positive test. And this is where this becomes so exciting, doesn't it, David? Like, we look at this and we think that what Dr. Ahrens has created in this product, being a plant-based product, first of all, is the number one thing that I really want to highlight, because it's just amazing to have something that is supporting the body and making such a huge change for people in regards to supporting them and creating an easier life, I guess, really, for things that they're going through and challenges that they have. But as a sports person, to be able to manage inflammation, which means that then they have the aspect of recovery, and we start looking into all the other aspects of what is included in sport, that we have this well-rounded athlete that has got a product that potentially is going to provide them with support that they didn't have before. And that's pretty important on that aspect. So if we look into this, into here, so I've put some information into you. So, you know, Dave decided that he wanted to certify this, and Bruce Matheson has been at the forefront of this. So, you know, kudos to him. You can see that Bruce is the one down here, that it's his email. He's the one that's driven this through from his career as well, and he understood the importance of what this product can do, taking it out into the world of sport. And we must not understand too that it's not just professional athletes. Like, this is for kids of all ages. So when you go to this website, this is what you're going to see when you open it up. You know, you're going to see, well, you're not actually going to see this part with the Valentis, to be honest, but, you know, you'll go in and go into this website, you'll click on certified drug-free database and certified drug-free clients. And you can see that we've got a Valentis logo that is advertised on here. And this is massive because you can share this potentially with people that are in the sporting space of all ages. When you go to find it, you need to go into certified drug-free database here. But it sounds strange, but you do need to go into certified drug-free animal supplements. And now you'll go to the left tab down here, and you can see down the bottom here, and type in Valentis, and this is what we come up with. And the information is available as we shift on to the next one, and it is for Emulin M only at this point in time. And, you know, the great thing about this when we start looking at it is that when you start reading through here, it is globally certified to be of 496 plus drugs that they have tested for, that Emulin has proven to show that it does not consist, or it's not a masking agent for 496 plus drugs. This is where this is just huge. We are so excited about it. And for those in sport will understand, when you're looking at WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, and we start looking at all of these sporting organizations down here, NFL, NBL, you know, it's going into FIFA, into NASCAR. It's massive. It's just really huge. And you can see when you go into here, you can see that they have actually tested Emulin twice, I should say 4 times, to ensure that it was okay. But David, what are your thoughts in regards when you read this? Because before you answer me, I will say, like, when we looked at where we're heading with the Breen formula as well, and the clinicals that are happening there, there's a really important guy that Dr. Ahrens met when he came out here, a Dr. Trevor Clark, and he's going to be heading those clinical studies with David and with Dr. Ahrens' guidance. But when I sent that through to Trevor, I know what his thoughts were on this, and he was so excited. But what do you think about this, David? Like when you saw this, when I showed you, this is where we're at now with Emulin.
It's really exciting. When I started my research, and Trevor Clark is a friend, but he's also the one that got me into it. So I don't know whether I want to shake his hand or punch him in the mouth because of all the sleepless nights trying to do all this study. But it is a minefield. And what's good about this product is the guy that invented it. Joe Ahrens come out a couple of years ago, and he's just passionate about it. And if you haven't heard his story about how he used the grapefruit and the nights he spent over in UCLA doing all his tests and running all his studies and things like that, you know that he's very passionate about it. So, and he looks good for his age as well, and he's a good bloke. So but the person behind it's really important. For this, to have it on the AIS, or the Australian Institute of Sport, substance availability, just endorses the product endlessly, and it's a good product, and it's ticked all the boxes for well-being. In terms of getting rid of that anti-inflammatory, and Jack mentioned, I do train pretty hard, and I still compete in masters rowing in the surf. When you don't get sore from training, you can do so much more, and it's just like a snowball effect. It just wants you want to eat healthier, you want to keep training. It's just a great product, and it's all go for us over here in Australia, and to hopefully get these clinical trials underway and get that product out there.
Yeah, so, we're heading on to the top of the hour. So if anybody's got any questions, please ask, because I think it's really important to understand exactly what is happening for us here. Like globally, this is a product that we now have that we can take through to kids that are in sport, because children actually start professional sport from 4 and 5. You get kids that are have been recruited, and they're going into I'm trying to think of when my daughter-in-law was one, looking at what did Tegan do? She was into, when you go down to
gymnastics.
Gymnastics, thank you. I need more Emulin to get my brain moving. So they start, bringing those into the Institute of Sport and things like that. So this is really important, even for young kids going through, because they do get tested. Like if you've got a really great athlete there, and they're ear tagged, and they're on a good pathway, potentially, and they've got a career in front of them, they're going to get tested. And they need all the support that they possibly can. So, but then, we look at other ones that are at that next level down, that are playing, sport throughout all different types of sports. How much of the ability of having the assistance and support of knowing that you've got something of a product that is going to assist you in managing inflammation and being able to control the sugars, which have a huge impact for us in our bodies. To be able to get back onto that paddock, to get back into the pool, to be able to resume that sport, train every week, it is a big deal. So has anyone got any questions? Because we are hitting right on the 30 minutes, and I know the other call has started. So if you do, please unmute yourself. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up. I think we must have covered everything, did we? Okay, all right. So I want to thank David so much, and please, if you've got any questions, go back to Bruce Matheson. He's the one that has headed this. If you've got any questions, please feel free to ask myself, but obviously go through to Dave and through to Valentis, because this is something that's been driven by himself and Dr. Ahrens as well. And you'll be able to ask us questions as we go through this on a weekly basis as well. But just make sure that you've got the information that you need. So make sure that you understand this this web page, because when you take it and introduce it to somebody, they're going to want to understand, what does that mean? As an athlete, they'll want to know that they're protected, and give it to them. Tell them to do their own research, because it's their responsibility to do that. And then you just keep following up from there with it. But it is Emulin M only at this stage, okay? So just make sure that you're not driving Emulin C towards them, because there isn't anything officially certified there at this point in time. So I want to thank you all so much for turning up today, and for those that watch this call afterwards in your own time. I hope it's been informative for you, and it's just opened up information for you to understand exactly where we're heading with this product, and how it's going to actually change a lot of people's lives that are involved in sport. So thank you so much, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you next week. And thank you so much, David, for coming on board. And people can see that there is another side to me, and who has to put up with me. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jackie.
Thanks, everybody.
David.